Hi, my name is James Hughes, and I would like to welcome you to the Superdoor Configurator Quick and Custom presentation. ATG is a platinum level Autodesk software provider. A platinum partner is someone who has the best customer service, the best technical support, and the best customer retention across authorized resellers. I'd like to tell you just a little bit about myself. I'm a licensed architect here in the state of Arkansas. I have 13 years of architectural experience. And for the past 5 years, so I'm not counting those 5 years, I've been an AEC technical specialist with ATG. So now my full time job is helping other architects, as well as interior designers, landscape architects, engineers, and contractors with Autodesk software. Primarily, that takes form of doing trainings, as well as a number of other technical services and support. Superdoor Configurator is a CTC tool that you should utilize to create your project doors and drastically reduce the amount of time to create custom door content. I hope that you enjoy this brief presentation of the CTC tool, Superdoor Configurator. Creating Revit door families is a tedious task that is often estimated with out of the box doors to push construction documents forward. It's normally created with those. Superdoor Configurator allows you to create custom doors specific to your project while maintaining company standards in the same amount of time. Superdoor Configurator is a tool that allows you to greatly reduce management of door content. It comes with pre-created standardized door families, which increase accuracy and reduce errors. So you'll be able to drop the out of the box Revit content and engage with CTC Superdoor Configurator content. In this presentation, we're going to specify the main door assembly for our project inside of the software. We're going to select a door frame and door panel that's applicable to our condition. We're going to add parameters to the family to control size and configuration of the door assembly. And we'll also instantly create fully configured door families based on those selections above. After this presentation is over, you'll be able to visit youtube.com and you can search for and put it in all caps, ATG space USA, to find this presentation and many others. Throughout this presentation, if you have any questions, just type them in the Q&A and I will get back to them towards the end. All right, the rest of this presentation is going to be done live in Revit using the Superdoor Configurator tools. So give me just a second and I will swap over to Revit. Okay, first of all, let me place in a wall just so we've got something to be able to host these doors inside of. And let me bump up my setting to at least medium. We can do fine as well. That's just fine. Okay, so if you install any of the CTC software, which includes BIM Manager Suite, it also includes BIM Project Suite, these blue tools and green tools. The one we're going to be talking about today is the CTC Superdoor Configurator. You can see it over here in red on the side. I can drag it down here for better clarity here, but it's going to host all of the CTC tools underneath this ribbon, accessible inside of Revit. As of today, Revit 2021 came out this past week. I've just installed it. So obviously there is not yet Superdoor content for 2021 just yet. But if you are a subscriber to the software, then as soon as that content has been fully tested and is ready, then you could use this. But we're going to do our work inside of Revit 2020. And there are a couple of components to Superdoor Configurator. And we're going to kind of bounce between these two primary ones as we begin. We've got an admin panel, and then we've got the actual Superdoor program itself. Whenever you first install Superdoor Configurator, what you would download from the CTC website is actually the tool itself, but it is not the content itself. So it doesn't include right out of the gate the RFA content. That needs to be done as a separate download, which I'll show you in just a minute. And that's actually done on purpose. When these tools were first created, I'm told back around 2008, it was just simply RFA content that you were given license to. And some of the issues that were run into is that people would try to make combinations that were not compatible. Like if you try to take an overhead coiling door and you put in a door with panels inside of that, you may have issues, you may not. But people were trying things, and it was not always a smooth and beneficial experience. So the choice was made a few years back to actually create a software interface for this, and you're going to see the benefits of that. And they've decided to keep them as two separate downloads so that both can be maintained by updates without disrupting the service or causing you to have to download a whole new version every time an incremental improvement has been made. So the very first time that we launch Superdoor Admin, you're going to see this pop-up occur here, which is going to basically tell you what I just told you. You do have to download the Superdoor content. I have already, and I can check, don't show me this again, and I shouldn't be bothered by that. If somehow I missed that box, I can go into options and check it there as well. But you can tell that I've actually installed all of the content because this whole field here is populated. It actually sees the content, and the address where it sees that content, you can see up here. Now, I've chosen to locally load the doors, so they are on my computer's hard drive, as you can see, C drive, and it's under program data, which is a hidden folder. So if you do need to access that, you might need to type this path in to gain access to that. But right here off the top, we've got 3 different access tabs for assemblies, frames, and panels. And it's worth noting that doors are typically not one family. Normally, they are a family within a family. And so normally the construction of a door inside of Revit is going to be an assembly or a door assembly. And that acts as sort of a parent container where it makes it easier for you to change out or swap door frames and door panels to go with that family, basically nests them inside of that. And that's how Superdoor Configurator is also organized as well. So it sees the basic door assembly families that come with the content. And if I double click on either of these or click the configure button, I do have the ability to scroll through and make changes to or pre-configure these doors with default values that I might want to change. I've also got the ability by selecting the assembly type, and this is very important. This is the primary feature of the admin and the software interface, to select the compatible frames, and maybe more importantly, to deselect those that do not work with this door assembly by simply checking and unchecking, obviously, here. I also have the ability to add to this content. This is kind of not often exercised, with users of Superdoor Configurator. Most people are just wanting to use it, right out of the box and not have to modify it or add their own doors to it. But you could add door panels and then, or in this case, frames, and then check those because it would see them in that folder location there. So each of these that show in yellow, these are just parameters for the door assembly itself. They show in yellow if they have been configured, meaning that you can change these or set these up within Superdoor, the configurator, the program that I'm going to show you the other side of it, not the admin side. You could either pre-configure these, or every one of these you can change after the fact as well. I mean, they behave just like parameters inside of Revit because that's what they are. One of the beautiful things about this configuration panel, not only in the admin side, but also the Superdoor side, is that it's going to give you these images or these preview images with dimensions that spell out what each of these parameters are. So they haven't just created a bunch of parameters that could be changed. They're showing you graphically, which speaks to most architects, how you can make these changes and have them stick. I'm going to choose to not change that door. At the top of every CTC tool, these panels, these tools, rather, at the top are going to be fairly continuous, so that you can get used to the different types of tools that you could engage with CTC. But every one of them, you do want to note up here, we've got a videos link, which will link you to the CTC website. So if you wanted to see a workflow to use Superdoor Configurator in maybe a way that you haven't seen in this demonstration, you've got the ability to follow up and see more video content to start a support case with CTC or with ATG. And then you've also got underneath this drop-down menu, the ability to report bugs and to request features. So if there is a door type that you do not see in the catalog, but you use a lot, then you could use request feature. Or if somehow a combination you've discovered doesn't work in a certain capacity, that's always possible. You've got the ability to report a bug here. So we'll come back to the admin when we look at the other two tabs here in just a moment. But I wanted to also show you kind of the simplicity and the layout of this, but to be able to download content, that's our first point that I want to make. So let me actually follow through on that. Now I've hidden the pop-up, but I still have access to download Superdoor families here. If I click this, it is going to open up a website. Of course, it's on my other screen. So let me pull it up here. And you get to have access to the current library as well as the back catalog. Choose the one that you want to download for this computer. When you click this, it will download, and you can see the zip pop up there. And then you just unzip that content in the folder that you want it to occur in. Now, I did mention that I'm doing this locally. You've also got the ability to host this on a network. So if you have shared content for Superdoor Configurator and you want to be able to add to the library or do something that kind of curates it further, you've got the ability to host that on the network. If you're just going to use it out of the box, there's really no reason to do that. You could just have it installed locally on all of the computers that you have using Superdoor Configurator. All right, so after the content has been installed, like it is on mine by downloading it, unzipping it, let me open up Superdoor and make sense of the order of things that we need to do to be able to place a door. Now, you don't have to make this enlarged to take up the whole screen, but I didn't want it to conflict with Revit here. So we basically have drawers for each of the steps. And step one, and it tells you right up here, step 1 of 5. This is basically like filling out a form. Like, what kind of door are we talking about today, Mr. Hughes? And then I would choose, whether it's a simple swing door or whether or not I'm looking for an overhead coiling door. And is that underneath this door type? Because I see a panel, but I'm not sure if it does that. But we can choose our door assembly type. Let me just choose. And actually, before I choose it, if you hover over it, it will also give you a description of it, a preview of it. Of course, we can add side lights to this and kind of change the frame up, but the door itself, the overall family is going to be of this configuration. And it also tells you the number of frame options and panel options that you currently have available for this. Now, a swing door is going to be your most common and your most versatile door type. So that one is going to have the highest numbers of panels and frames that you can configure it in. And then if you move to something like a revolving door, it's going to be pretty straightforward. You're going to get a couple of choices here and there for what type you can create with it. So let me choose a swing. And that's really all there is to that first step of selecting your main door assembly. And then after this, and let me just kind of, I guess, give a little bit of a preview of some of these other types. We got bifold, like a closet door, a double bifold. Overhead actually does have a few different types. So it does have a panelized garage door type. It also has the vertical kind that sort of just, come off on a slight angle. For more warehouse application. And then it does have overhead coiling doors. And there actually are different door material types. You can actually change it out with chain. You can, put in the different, door panel types into that one as well. We've got a pocket type door here, double pocket, a lot more rare. Some of CTC's customers also deal with detention centers. You'll kind of see that represented in some of the door choices as well. We've got some different types of, fire separation doors, different types of sliding doors, the very, very complicated sliding separating door. I'm glad that there's a family for that. I would hate to craft that one from scratch. Sliding patient door for hospital application, just a double door, double swing egress. That's going to, and then an uneven. So the egress is going to swing either way. And then the uneven has one panel larger than the other. So I'll select the swing door type, door assembly type, and then we click frame. We could do it that way, or we could choose the next arrow, either way. And it moves us to the next tray, which is choosing our whether or not our door frame is going to include anything like a transom window or a side light. And I want to take just a minute and explain kind of the nomenclature that you're seeing in the naming system here, because obviously you guys have your own door naming conventions, which are almost certainly different than how this tool has them named out of the box. Of course, I'll show you how to change that in our last step. But up here, it begins with letter designator for the material of the frame. So the front ones we have, or the top ones we have here, are aluminum frames. HM's hollow metal. We've got a security hollow metal. And then we also have a wood frame available. So that's the first two letters, is just simply the material. Or maybe there is no material. Maybe it's just a placeholder. Then that's followed by a dash and a number system. The first number in that number system is the number of transom windows in the door frame. So if it's 0, you have no transom overhead. If you have now I'm looking for one there. So here's hollow metal 1-0. We've got 1 transom. That second number is the number of side lights that are in the system. So if you have 2, then there are 2 side lights, and if there is a 1, then there is a single side light, and in this case a transom and 1 side light. So 1-1 is the numbering scheme. If it has an A after it, then that just simply indicates that there is a horizontal median member, and you can see that there in the side light. So we select our frame type, choose kind of an entry frame for hollow metal. Will be cheap instead of doing it out of aluminum. This time I'll choose next. So the frame selection has been made. Next up, we choose the door panel. With F, we've just got a solid panel, and I'm not going to go through each of these, but I do want to highlight several. So we've got full glass here, impact resistant version of that. We've got a full louver. This is a pretty common type here for half glass. If you just need to, get a vision panel, here's the offset. That's probably going to be your most common type. So we'll select that guy. All right, so we got our narrow vision opening in the top half. Now, if I have, and there's some residential, panel systems down here as well. If I'm pretty heavy in residential and I need to beef this up and I need to have, different versions of this, as I've mentioned, you can actually create door panel families that you would like to add to this, and then basically use the admin tool to be able to make sure that it has the Superdoor parameters. And I'll kind of come back to that in just a little bit here towards the end. But for right now, we'll just select our narrow vision panel. We've completed our third step. We go to step 4, which is presetting parameters. Now, I don't have to do anything here. I could just plop this into Revit and then configure this after the fact. But if I want to preset any of these settings, I've got the ability to take a minute and use pre-configured values here. So in the admin, they have pre-configured it to use 90 or 45. A lot of our customers use 45 if it's existing doors, and some people do that just with millwork doors. We can change anything from the frame depth, and I can actually get a accurate depiction of what that is, or whether or not it's full wall thickness or not. I'll just click on a few more of these. I'm probably not going to change any of these because it's all pretty standard. For my, let me look here. Got my frame width. I'm happy with the door panel. Let me take one last look at the frame. I'm kind of hunting around for not the frame width. Yeah, at the head. So if we've got, a brick versus block application, I need to make a change to this. I can use, actually it's preset. I can just change that to 4-inch. Okay, so in the rest, we'll just change in the field here if we need to. I've got different parameter slides as well here. So I was really just kind of working off the dimensions, but we can also alter the graphics if we want to pre-assign the materiality of the frame or the door itself. We can do that. And underneath options, we'll I'll probably end up coming back to this, but there are several different options that I can set. Some of the cooler ones here are to have a preset ADA clearance on it. And you can kind of get a feel for which ones are available as pre-drawn items. That's always a pain in the neck to kind of come back and add those later. All right, so we've selected the main door assembly. We've selected the frame type. We've selected the door panel type, and we have selected the parameters that go with it. The last step along the way, step 5 out of 5, is getting this thing named according to our naming conventions. It feels like the pressure's off now. I'll be happy if it just makes the geometry. If it doesn't name it exactly how I want, then that's a little bit lower stakes here. But by default, it's going to want to name it with what's called a seed name, which you may have glanced on the admin panel. We selected a regular swing type door. It's kind of uncommon to have swing appear in the name, at least up front. So if we want to make changes to these, obviously we can type in different values, but if I want to, make it where swing doesn't appear, I can also go to the options window here. And this lists out some of the parameters that can make up the naming convention. So if I just want to remove main door assembly out of that naming convention, we'll just do that. And then it gave me a preview of, removing just that piece of the name. And let me refresh this real quick. Yeah, so when I hit refresh, you see swing disappear or drop out of the name. If I don't want NV for narrow vision to show up in the name, I might kind of make some changes to that as well. If I go back to options, you can really just use this to fine tune and match your company standards. You may not care if you're a sole proprietor, you just may not care. But I can change the separator to just use space separation if I don't want underscores, and it's just going to name it, like that. Or I can add in some different pieces. We'll come back and see if we can come up with a scenario for that. So I've got 2 ways to save this family out. If it's just me, or if this tool is in the hands of all my people because I've seen the value, and so everybody that needs Superdoor Configurator has it, they're probably just going to use this top checkbox, which is load it right in. Don't save it out. The second one is what you would choose if you've only bought 1 seat of Superdoor Configurator, or maybe you just don't trust everybody to use it because they might just go to town and start naming things weird, or breaking things, or creating content and overpopulating a database or something. In that case, I might actually choose to save it. And then if I want to double check it or do some additional work, I might want to open it in Revit's family interface. I might kind of stop off there. But if someone asks me to create a door for them that has a transom window up top, has a side light with a intermittent mullion, and it needs to have a vision panel in it, and I don't have one of those in our library because who has time to keep all that curated, then I'm probably going to wait a couple of hours just so they don't think that I can just flip a switch and do this. Wait a little bit and keep working on other projects that make money, and then run this and then save that family out for them, and then just send them that RFA. And then they can place that inside of their project, and I'm kind of finished with it at that point. But here, since we're working on our own project, I'm going to check this top one, and we're going to load it right into Revit. I'll click Finish and give Superdoor just a minute, because it's going to grab each of those 3 families and combine them together and load it into Revit and place it on my crosshair here to be able to place. And so I'll just click to place that Superdoor inside of the project and take a look in 3D. Yay. Go with realistic so we can get a sense that it does have some materials pre-assigned. We do have hollow metal here. If we want to apply a paint to that, obviously we can change that in our materials. And as I mentioned, this is going to behave just like any other Revit content, because that's exactly what it is. So if I need to change any of the parameters that have been assigned to it after the fact, here are the instance parameters that I can tweak per door. And if I want to change some for that entire type of door, then I can go to my type parameters and make those changes that I might want to do. So those are basically the 5 steps of Superdoor. And it went way slower because I was explaining along the way how you do it, but you choose your assembly type. Oh, I do need to choose one. I can't just slide between these. Choose your frame type. In this case, it's limited me to aluminum frames for this type of door. Choose my panel type. 1, 2, 3. Any parameters I want to preset. And then how do I want to name it and how do I want to save it? So we'll create just a couple of more scenarios here just to show some more versatility within the product. Obviously, I didn't set anything about width or height, which I can do in the parameters after the fact, or I could preset them. Let me search for an overhead coiling door. So I'll select overhead. I'll choose next. Here's OHC. So that's overhead coiling. Got a couple of different options. I can have it with no roll down, just kind of the frame in place, but no door to speak of. Or I can show it with horizontal lines representing vertical grill. That's horizontal. Oh, this one also has vertical lines as well. We'll choose that guy. Preset parameters for the overhead coiling door. Have a look at some of these. Obviously these graphics are different because it's a different type of door. These have been pre-saved out as images that are part of the database. And kind of the cool thing about this too is if I end up adding different door types to this, then I can basically make it adopt these same preview images so that it all behaves inside of Superdoor as well. Let's increase our width a little bit here. So we'll put in a 12-foot. And under create door, overhead coiling grill. I guess I'm okay with that naming. You can also put in a different naming convention. A lot of people put in, width times height, and that's possible here as well. Let me try my hand at this and see if I can do it. Let's go to options. And let's see, under main door assembly, yeah, we'll add width. All right, for some reason I forgot where height would occur alphabetically. So width times height, but to get a times in between in that naming convention instead of just doing underscore separated, let me change from underscore, we'll go space separated this time. And I'm gonna add in a custom text here, and we'll just put a lowercase x, and custom text is at the bottom. Let me bump it up one here. Select it and then bump it up. Yeah, cool. So now I get a 72 wide by 84 high. Awesome. Choose OK with that naming convention and choose finish to load it directly into my Revit project. Already, even if something like this already existed on Revit City or BIM Object or some other resource like that, I still get it here faster than searching for it there. It's going to be much better, much more trustworthy content, coming from Superdoor Configurator. And then I've got ability to change this. That's a great mall opening there, a 12-foot wide opening. All right, I'll add just a couple more. I'll go a little bit faster, do a little bit less talking, but I want to show off just a couple of the other types. I'm going to jump in admin for just a second too, because I didn't look at frames, but each of these locations is a different folder. So if all I wanted to do was add, 5 more door panels to this system or to Superdoor's mix here, then I could go to this exact folder and then place in a door panel. And it would see it here in this list, and then I'll pretend this is it. Then I can configure that door panel that I've added, and I can load an existing configuration of one that's close to it. So I can find if it's close to a flush panel, I could choose that, and then that's going to give it the parameter sets or the pre-configuration that other type had, and then I can just make changes for how it's different. All right, let me get back out of the admin here and go back to Superdoor. All right, this time I'm going to choose, I never really get to place these, but a multi-part sliding door here. Select it, choose next. It's gonna need to be aluminum. I'm going to have 0 transom. I'm gonna let this thing stop the spread of fire here without having transoms in it. They can make these out of mostly glass, so I can do impact resistant glass. We'll do that. And we'll show it 45 open, so it's partially open. That's fine. I'm not going to mess with the naming of this. It does remember my my convention though, and so we are getting the benefit of the extra width in here. I mean the width and height being reported. All right, you can do this in 3D. You can do it in plan view, either way, and place that in. If I go back to the plan view of it, none of this has been tagged. If I want to tag this, obviously you guys probably know how to do this. Just choose annotate. We can do tag all or tag by category. Take off the leader and just hover over each of these, click to place. Notice that it didn't go 1, 2, 3, even though the order that I placed them in was 1, 2, 3. It actually has added in different families, or it's skipping numbers because the door frame and in some cases the door panel are being treated as a enumerated item that could be scheduled. And by default, most people are not wanting to schedule them. And so if you didn't want the frame to occupy its own number, and if I choose another door, I'll just use the out of the box door now. And let me tag it. Give me just a second. All right, so it just jumped from 5 to 12. And so I've got a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then the frame. So it's kind of skipped several numbers to be able to accommodate that. There is a renumbering tool that you could use in CTC's software suite, but let me just kind of show you guys how we can do this a little bit differently. If I need to renumber them, let me erase these guys real quick. Oh, I'm sorry. If I were to choose tag all, this is actually where that error would occur. So if I choose door tags and I hit apply, it'll actually place the tags on each one of them, which infuriates some people. But this is that problem that I was telling you. Each of these has the ability to be tagged if you wanted to. If you don't, let me undo and let me erase these correctly placed tags just so I could put them right back there and show you the path for doing it still with tag all instead of doing them one at a time. What you can do as a workaround is just simply zoom out of your project, maybe the whole project, and put a window across every item that's in there. And now if we go to annotate and we go to tag all and we choose door tags, make sure that you have this only selected objects in current view selected, and this will resolve this for us. So we'll hit apply and hit OK. And now it's only going to place these tags on these objects that we already pre-selected. So that's a workaround for that issue. You still are going to have an issue when it comes time to schedule. I don't have a door schedule, but give me just a second here. We'll whip one up. It's not that hard. I'll go to view. It's hard if you're looking for it. Schedules, schedule quantities, choose doors. Come over here. All right. Let's see. We're going to want with doors, we number them individually. And so we want the mark rather than the type mark. Let me get that right. Okay. Sorry, normally I just use one that's been done years ago. Don't do count, that's a window function. We want to name it. Let's just choose family and type. Finish, maybe that matters. All right, so I'll just do this and hit OK. There's more stuff we care about, but the main thing I wanted to point out is that we have objects in the schedule. We've only got 3 doors, right? 4 doors, sorry. We've only got 4 doors, but in our door schedule, we got a lot more because we are seeing objects show up. Now, some of these are the doors and some of them are the frames. And so we do need to create an additional step in your scheduling to fix this, because some people do want the ability to be able to schedule these pieces out separately. So that is a feature that's going to remain. So underneath our fields here, Superdoor Configurator has added a parameter called appear in schedule. You want to go ahead and add that to your schedule. I'll bump it to the top. And under filter, we want to choose appear in schedule, and we want to choose does not equal no. Now, if we chose does equal yes, then that would actually exclude several of the door panels, door assemblies that Superdoor Configurator has. So we do want to do it as does not equal no. And when I hit OK, then those 4 doors that we actually have remain, and all of the framework and all of the panel work get removed from our schedule. And also they are not tagged here because of how we chose to tag them. All right. I am sorry. Let me jump right back. I'm not gonna end the Revit session just yet. If you guys have something that you'd like to see in Revit, kind of enrolling with this, go ahead and put that in our question and answer. I can always come back to it, but I just figured before we kind of close out our presentation portion, while I'm already in Revit, let me take a look and see if you guys are what you're thinking of. All right, so are these doors compatible with curtain wall systems? That's a great question because I haven't used it in that application before. I'm going to say, I'm going to stick my neck out and say no, because those are actually going to be panels in a curtain wall rather than something that is meant to be hosted inside of a wall and remove a portion of the wall. And so I believe the answer is no, but anonymous attendee, let me run that answer down for you, and we'll kind of let you guys know. I'm pretty sure that we can, even though you're anonymous, I'm pretty sure that we can get your email address and send you an answer to that one. Okay, you're not going to see every door type inside of Superdoor Configurator. Let me bring this back up. And in fact, at the start of my presentation, you probably saw several different residential doors. Some of them had arched tops. Some of them had, kind of very different frames. But as I mentioned, you do have the ability to add in content to this. Now, there is going to be some work to be able to make sure it's, compliant with Superdoor Configurator. There's going to be a lot more testing to do because you'll need to actually test each door panel with each frame type and make sure that it's behaving. And so just kind of wanted to lay that out for you. There are people that are seeing value in using Superdoor in that way. But if Superdoor does 80% of your common commercial doors and maybe half of your residential doors, then it's doing quite a heavy lift. If you're not going out to procure content and just living with how it's different, or trying to untangle someone else's family and make it work how you want. If it's doing that portion for us, there's huge value in that. And of course, your most common doors are here. You are going to be able to do single and double doors of many different configurations and side light and transom patterns. Very quickly, you can have those in people's hands. And for that reason, it is obviously better if all of your users who are placing doors, who are authoring that content, have access to Superdoor Configurator. If you're just starting out or you're wanting to prove out the value, then maybe just your BIM manager has a copy of it and they're able to create that content just kind of as a bottleneck themselves. All right, great question. I'm going to transition back over to the PowerPoint. All right, so just wrapping up the presentation and the demo, we have specified the main door assembly for our project. We went ahead and selected a door frame, actually did this ×4, or ×3 rather. We selected a door frame and door panel that's applicable to our condition. We've added some parameters. We've been able to change parameters in the family before and after the fact to be able to configure that door panel assembly to our use. And we were also able to use Superdoor Configurator to instantly create fully configured door families based on a very simple 5-step selection method. And in fact, it's really just 4 steps. Once you've got your naming convention set how you want, you're just choosing the assembly, the frame, the panel, and then maybe some parameters. It's very straightforward. I'm James Hughes. I hope this was valuable to you guys in learning some of Superdoor Configurator's capabilities. Until next time, thanks and goodbye.